And from my thinking, the fuel consumption at that point is probably not very efficient. And it's probably in the order of 10 or 15 pounds of fuel, 100 pounds of fuel in half an hour. It's a significant amount of fuel. It's not a couple of gallons of gas. If you take that and run it through an engine, you're going to generate all kinds of pollution, all kinds of stuff. And I was unable to find out anything about that anybody really knows about what stuff comes out the back of a jet. But even if that was a 1 pound of material, let's be generous and say it's 1 pound of junk that came out of the back of that plane. And people generally measure pollution in parts per million. So now we have to disperse that 1 pound of junk into some space. And so I tried to estimate how many miles, not miles, it's probably hundreds of feet wide and maybe a mile long and how many feet high. Where does that stuff go? And it doesn't disperse instantly, so it takes a long time for that to disperse. But that's a serious amount of matter to dispose of in that neighborhood, and there's a half an hour wait for a jet is the average wait. And there's, I don't know, 18,000 operations, that's 9,000 jets, whatever the period is, a month or something taking off. That's a lot of unburnt fuel and pollution going into the neighborhood, and the noise from that is very significant as well. When they're sitting there idling, they don't make any noise, but as Virginia said, when they get ready to take off, the best thing that an airplane has is more runway. So they get at the end of the runway, they put the brakes on, and they gun it. And when they get the engines up to speed, they release the brakes. During that period, that 15 or 20 seconds, there's a lot of material going into that neighborhood at a high speed, high temperatures, particles. It's a mess. Then they take off. It's just not a good situation. And the sheer quantity, the 200,000 the 200,000 bug smashers that come in there per year, nobody knows for sure what they're contributing. It's got to be a lot more than the traffic on Bundy Drive.
Thank you.
I appreciate you looking into this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Bill. For our audience, as well as for our viewers, this is joined at the hip. Joan Rubin, who with her husband Marty Rubin are really responsible for creating the forum tonight. And I want to thank you, Joan, for your efforts.
You have to excuse me. This is like my 4th cold this year. I'll get into that in a bit. But I want to thank you, Bill, so much for everything you've done for us. It's indescribable. I just can't. It would take an hour. And thank you, panel. And I really appreciate all your efforts and to help us. I would like to give a little testimony. First of all, Virginia Ernst spoke about her area, which is the closest to the airport. It's just east of Bundy, and I define, well, the area is at Armacost and Clarkson and Sardis. As far as, in my mind, and I know it goes out a lot farther because we live a half a mile farther than that east in West LA. But in her area, we deliver a lot of flyers, and every time we're there, I physically get sick. I get sore throats, I get runny eyes, sometimes nausea and headaches. And I think, what are these people doing here? I mean, I feel so sorry for them. And some of them don't speak out that much anymore. The area, in that area, east of the airport, and I can't say the other, is just, when those jets are idling, they do get a horrible amount. And I don't know about the blast walls, I'm not that familiar, but I know that the winds are so, the breezes are so powerful that they push. I don't think anything could keep them from, I know Virginia's area, and we know several people who are there, live there, and they're in our group. They have joined our group. But I know that we too get that, and you can't contain it. You can't contain that jet fuel. It goes a half a mile, depending on the winds. And as I say, I've always been very healthy, and this last year, maybe it's just working really hard on campaigns and everything, but I have gotten 4 colds. And I do a lot of outside gardening. We don't have air conditioning in our house, and we don't really want it. We like to open our windows. I like to be outdoors, and I've lived in our house, our family, since 1959. The area has, you cannot explain how horrible the area has, in my mind, disintegrated because of the jet activity. We had small planes, and We have many people in our area who have lived there 50 years and 40 years and who are still in their 50s. You know, they were there as children. And my cat has asthma, okay? My cat was an outdoor cat. He's now in, he takes Flovent. We have to give him an inhaler every day. And he's a very healthy, he was a very healthy cat. Our neighbor across the street, I'll make this really brief, but her cat died of throat cancer. And then I was telling her about another neighbor's cat who died of throat cancer 5 doors down. And then a couple of our cats in our area are coming to our door to visit our cat, who is now an indoor cat. And they're wheezing. They're always wheezing, and they're outdoors. And I have a really bad feeling about the increase in these jets. As I say, when I was there, they were not there. I don't feel they should be there because of the proximity to the houses, and I think they're deadly, the fumes that they're emitting. And because Marty and I work so hard in this group, and we have worked many, many years, we don't want to give all of our lives to this group, but we do it because we're so dedicated and so concerned that this pollution is going, that's our main concern. The emissions from the jets are going to, after a while, make people very sick, if not already. And I'm tired of the city of Santa Monica pushing it under the rug and saying they can't do anything and it's an FAA problem. Santa Monica is a green city, and they capitalize on being a green city, and I want them and their their city council to work with us more. And you know, and they say their hands are tied and they can't. But we've been so frustrated. And thank you so much, Bill, for helping us.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you for your passion and your commitment and your hard work and your leadership in the community on this issue. Appreciate it very much. Yes, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Stacy Brown. And first, I would like to thank Councilmember Rosendahl and the panelists for being here. This is a very, very long overdue thing that we're doing. I live on Butler Avenue, directly under the flight path. My house is between National and Brookhaven. And so I've got planes overhead all the time. And my family's owned the house since 1951. I was away for about 10 years while I was going to school, but I'm back living in the house that I grew up in. And one thing that I want to stress is our community is a real community. It's an old-fashioned neighborhood. People know each other. We still have many original owners and kids who have grown up in the neighborhood who have come back and are living in the neighborhood again. I have been attending Santa Monica Airport Commission meetings for at least 12 years, maybe 15. And so I've also watched the whole progression happening there. I have huge concerns about health effects, especially of the jets. And my concerns are primarily from the toxics, which we still know just a tiny, tiny little bit about. It seems to be a state secret. The noise effects and the noise coming from the jets as they're approaching, and I'm under the approach coming in from the east heading towards the airport. When jets are approaching, preparing to land, it's a very shrill sound. I can hear it for, I'm sure it's at least a half a mile or a mile, maybe a little farther out. And then it just builds and builds and builds. And I get just this whole tension in the back of my neck, hearing it coming in. More and more now, they are larger, and they're also flying very low and making a lot more noise. There's a huge amount of reverse thrust occurring, which is a concern both for the noise issues and also the toxics. And unfortunately, the reverse thrust is not something that is measured as an enforceable noise element in the noise abatement program that the airport has. The other thing that the jet traffic does create is a lot of anxiety, and we've heard this earlier from other people. As the jets come in, especially the loud ones, especially the low-flying ones, there's always that little bit of concern about, is it going to make it to the runway? And so there's dealing